All right, this video is going to walk you through section 2.9a, which is all about percents, and really the rest of our chapter is going to talk about percent. So this is really important that we get this base understanding of percents before we do more challenging problems. So your job today is going to be converting between percents and unit rates or decimals, and then eventually, probably when we get to class, we're going to be talking about solving percent problems. So let's talk about what the word percent means. The word percent, and maybe you know, I'm going to break this word apart. Oops, sorry, see. Cent, you can think about pennies, and there are 100 pennies in a dollar. So cent is kind of like per 100, and per means for every one. So percent literally means for every 100. Okay, so that's why percents are usually out of 100. So if I say you got a 80%, I'm saying you got 80 out of 100, okay? So let's say you got an 85% on the test, pretty good. That means if I gave you a test that was 100 questions or 100 points, you would have gotten 85 of those questions right, because percent means out of 100. So I'm hoping that every test you get isn't out of 100 points. That would be ridiculous, okay? But if it was, that's what 85% really means. So 85 means 85 out of 100, or a lot of times you'll see it written as a fraction or a ratio, or 0.85. So there's lots of different ways we can write 85%. We can write it as a fraction, we can write it as a decimal, and today we're going to kind of be going back and forth between all those different things. So the first thing I'm going to want you to do is to convert percents into unit rates. And remember, unit rates is really just a decimal answer, okay? So if percent means out of 100, what we can do is we can take these percents to figure out what they are as a decimal, and we can write them out of 100. So 92% is the same thing as 92 out of 100. So I want you to take your calculator right now, pause the video if you need to, and do 92 divided by 100 and write down what you get. So you should get 0.92. Okay, so let's take the next one. So we have 8.9%, so that means 8.9 out of 100. Same thing, I want you to pause me, type it into your calculator, and you should get 0.089. Okay, next thing, if you get 0.5%, oh my gosh, that's awful. Can you imagine if you get 0.5% on a test? Yikes. So you get 0.5 out of 100, pause me, divide those two things. 0.5 divided by 100 gives you 0.005. Okay, last one, 110%, that's better. I want that on a test for sure. That means you got some extra credit. So 110 out of 100, we divide those two things, pause me, and you get 1.10. Okay, so let's look at all these answers. There's a really easy shortcut, a quicker way to get from the percent to the unit rate. I want you to think about what that shortcut is. Write it down if you think you know it, and we'll talk about it when you get to class. Okay, so let's talk about the other direction. Okay, if I'm wanting to convert decimals to percents, now we're giving these unit rates. Now we need to go the other direction. So when we were converting percents to decimals, we were dividing. But this time we're going to actually be multiplying because it's the opposite. So we want to multiply all these things by 100. And that's going to give us the percent. So let's go ahead. I want you guys to try it. If you want, you can pause me and figure out all of these percents without me. But here we go. So 100 times 50.55 is going to give you 55%. And then here, if I take 0.675 times 100, it's going to give me 67.5%. Notice I'm putting the percent symbol there. 0.02 times 100 is going to give me 2%. And then 2.5 times 100 is going to give me 250%. Okay? So I want you to look at all of your decimals and how they changed into percents. I want you to see if you can find the shortcut for this process here. There's a simpler way to do this instead of having to multiply everything by 100. Okay, so try and see if you can come up with those shortcuts, and we'll talk about it when you get to class.